I've been thinking about the what traditionally over the last couple of years has been the game in the Premier League. Manchester City, Liverpool, whether it be at Anfield, whether it be at the Etihad, this is the game that everybody looks forward to. They've given us some absolute belters, haven't they? Some proper games of football. It's literally a game of basketball. You have a go, I have a go. We score, you score. It's always tremendous. It feels a tiny little bit different coming into this tomorrow at 12:30, and that's mainly because Liverpool's away form has been absolutely horrific. But it's Liverpool. It's Manchester City. So I'm kind of anticipating something special. When you are looking, and we'll concentrate on Liverpool first and foremost, because they're the team that have fallen off this season in particular. When you're looking at Liverpool and you're looking at the things that maybe people are hypercritical over, you look to the midfield. It's not necessarily like it's been over the last few years. There's not enough legs there. I think everybody would say in the summer that's where Liverpool need to strengthen. And then off the back of that, then you look at the defence, and people are hypercritical of the defence. And some of the conversations that I've had, even with Liverpool fans this year, that certain players in that back line have become exposed. Now, the excuse that they would use is that the midfield isn't up to scratch, and therefore that's why the midfield is in particular being exposed. But one of those players that is always highlighted is Virgil van Dijk. Mm-hmm. Now, we've had this conversation on this show many, many occasions, right? And when Liverpool were flying, when they were the absolute business, every Liverpool fan would come on this show here and they say Virgil van Dijk is the greatest defender that the Premier League has ever seen. Now, I'm not knocking Virgil van Dijk. He's a fantastic footballer, and I would have loved to have been Virgil van Dijk at one point. But if I was to make a list of the top 5 Premier League centre-backs of all time, Virgil van Dijk wouldn't get in my top 5.
Oh.
I know that's a big shout.
It's a massive shout.
Listen,
it's massive.
I know that people are going to come at me for this. And you're more than welcome to come and join in. 03717223344. If I'm going to make a list of the top 5 Premier League centre-backs of all time, Virgil van Dijk does not make that top 5. And the reasons are going to be solidified with what you have seen this season. Yes, he's had wonderful seasons. He's had a good couple of seasons where Liverpool ended up winning the Premier League, Champions Leagues and all this type of stuff. But he is not, compared to maybe 5 or 6 or maybe even 7 other centre-backs, not in my top 5. What say you, Mr. Ferdinand?
I've got 7 down here.
I've
got 7.
He doesn't make your top 8.
I've got 7. I think, no, he's in the conversation. He's 100%, but he's in the conversation. And the reason why he's in the conversation is because he's done something that no defender's done in the Premier League. In a full season, it might be longer than a season, a player hasn't dribbled past him. And for that to happen in a game, yeah, that's massive.
But my argument would be that midfield in front of him, when you had Henderson with legs, you had Wijnaldum with legs, you had Fabinho with legs, all these guys doing the work for him and stopping those runs.
Of course. But we've seen live in games, people have had opportunity to run it in 1v1 and they've turned it down. You've seen that exactly, right. But I think you're seeing a difference, because now what strikers are doing now and attacking players are doing now, going, he's not the same. I am going to run at him, and now we're seeing a difference. We're seeing sometimes him getting exposed, and I've wrote down 7 here: Rio, JT, Sol Campbell, Ledley King, Yapstam, Kompany, Vidic. Like, come and get involved and let me know if he gets into that.
Tony Adams. I'm just going to check. Listen, here's my top 5, right? And I'm not saying this because you're sat here, right? But your brother's number 1. So Rio's in at number 1.
It's the only person that goes in at number 1. I can't have it any other way. Call me biased.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean? You've got that family vibe going on there, Anton. I'm going to be honest with you, but I'll speak for you. So Rio's number 1. I personally would go... It's a toss-up between Vidic and Stam at 2 and 3, right? Mm-hmm. So... And anybody that comes at me and says that Yapstam is not a top 5 Premier League all-star defender of all time ever, you're talking absolute wham, because he is. So Rio, Vidic, Stam, John Terry is in my top 5, and I would personally put Vincent Kompany. Now, there is one more other player that I want to just highlight here, and the reason why I'm going to highlight him is off the basis of that he would 100% be in my top 5. He might even challenge Rio as number 1, but he was always injured, and that is Ledley King.
But listen, you speak to most strikers that have played in the Premier League. A lot of the strikers say, when you say who's the best you've played against, it's always either Ledley King, Rio Ferdinand, or John Terry. They're the 3 that get mentioned more than anybody else.
There you go.
In my opinion, if Ledley King doesn't have the injuries that he had, the England pairing of Rio and John Terry ain't the same.
You think?
I think
Ledley breaks that partnership up in some way, shape, or form? Right?
I don't think JT plays as many games for England as he has done. If Ledley King is fit and doesn't have the need that he had.
What a shame, man! What a player he was. What a player Ledley King was, and he would definitely break into my top 5 if Ledley King had the longevity of some of the other guys that I'm talking about here. So my top 5, here we go. Top 5 Premier League centre backs of all time: Rio Ferdinand, Nemanja Vidic, Jaap Stam, John Terry, Vincent Kompany. You can mix that order up everywhere you want, but I don't think there's too many that would infiltrate that.
We've not even mentioned Desai, by the way, who was fantastic.
Yeah. What's that? How many seasons did he do, Mossad, I say, at Chelsea? 3? About 3? But if you look at the other guys there...
Carvalho.
Stam only did 3 at Man United, didn't he?
Carvalho.
Yeah, that's a good shout as well.
That partnership between Carvalho and John Terry was fantastic. And look, listen what I'm saying.
Sol Campbell, you mentioned Sol Campbell. He could play. In the early days, Tony Adams was an unbelievable centre-back.